ultrasound.
I was not a part of CSK for the first couple of years. The oddest reason, because the first year what actually happened was that there were talks about me wanting to join, etc. And to be honest, I didn't think this would take off, okay? Because I was part of the cricket establishment in Tamil Nadu cricket, and CSK and Tamil Nadu cricket has been quite closely intertwined. So that was the time, about 15 years back, my practice was taking off, and I sort of declined to be part of this. I was part of the Chennai operations, but not really traveling, etc. So I was very reluctant. Then 2 years we were doing well, and it was very obvious that IPL as a product was taking off. And then again the opportunity rose up. Dr. Natarajan was an integral part of the establishment, and he again, asked me to be offered me this role, and I grabbed it with both hands, to say this. And then since then, I've had no regrets about being part of CSK.
Been here obviously for that amount of time, you make a lot of friendships, you feel like you're part of a family. CSK has always looked after us very well, and like I said, a lot of good friendships have been created over the years, and also spent a lot of good times here with my family as well.
It's always just really nice at the start of every season, coming back, seeing the same familiar faces. We're like family now, so it's like, seeing your relatives you haven't seen in a long time, or your siblings you haven't seen in a long time. So obviously the glory is the best part. If you win tournaments, it's just satisfying, and it's the end of a job well done. But when you're not winning, then the best part is getting together as a team again and trying to achieve something together.
Two parts to the team doctor thing. One, that I'm in the background as far as the role of Tommy and Greg are concerned. That I have a general knowledge of things that happens, and there is always some injury or the other lurking around. So we discuss about what injuries need to be managed, what is this that do we think that it needs something further, is there something else that we need to do. That is from a musculoskeletal perspective. We keep in touch with our players all year round. That is, our franchise is very proactive in that way, and as much as possible, at least for the domestic players, the international players, most of them are part of their international teams. Most of them. It's very, very rare that we will have an odd player who is not part of the international setup. So we don't have direct control over how we manage. Now our domestic players, some of them may be playing for this state, another state. So I'm in constant touch with most of the domestic players, and we have a brief over the kind of injuries that they may have, what we need to do. Sometimes we may or may not agree with the management that they are taking with the player. See, because every state association does not have the same kind of management, and not everybody is the National Cricket Academy. So I interact with the doctors managing them, with the physios managing them, and if there is a need. Our campaign in 2023, I think there was an incident where Shivam took a catch on the boundary. When he came out, the top bit of his finger is facing the other way. He's dislocated the finger. There is a huge cut over there. We calmly got him inside, cleaned up the area, put the finger back, relocated the finger back, stitched the area. At that time we didn't use stitch. I used skin glue, taped it up, and he went in and batted. And he scored 20-30 runs, if I'm not mistaken. Now those are the critical areas where I think small things, where so I'd like to believe that somebody we fix and we go in and contributes makes a lot of difference in Watson was good and special, but intervention was after the game, unfortunately, because he refused to come out during the game. Shane Watson kept playing through a absolutely open wound. He had a wound that was literally this big, on top of his knee. He kept playing with it, it kept bleeding, and he came out and I got a shock. And I was stitching this, I mean, just outside the dressing room, and so many players came out there and most of them were shocked. You know, he's got a gaping wound which is about 3 inches wide. He kept playing on top of that, and I just came out and I was stitching there, and so many players saw that, and I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, nothing motivates a team seeing something like that. A lot of them continue to be with us, a lot of them are there with us, but these are all things, I mean, I like to believe that as a team, it stays in people's minds. Okay, somebody has given it so much, but of course, it did come out in the media and things like that, but when players themselves see that in front of them, it has a different kind of motivation to the others.
The year before, also in the final, before he cut his knee, the year before he actually pulled his calf very early on in the injury. So I ran out because I knew something was not quite right, and I thought maybe I can tape him, maybe I can do something. But he very sternly told me to go away, Tommy, I do not need you, in slightly different words. And you know, he continued on. So when I saw his knee, I thought, well, I'll go and see if he needs attending to. But again, he was so focused on his innings at the time that he didn't want me to attend to anything. He just felt, we'll deal with that after my innings is over. He was just, you know, narrow-minded. Fitness in cricket is very specific to what position you're playing, what role you're playing. You know, fast bowlers need to be fitter than spin bowlers, obviously. Opening batsmen who might be batting for longer periods than lower order batsmen often need to be fitter because they're batting for longer times. But, you know, it varies a lot. For some roles, you don't have to be super fit. The other thing is, the more experienced you are, the more energy efficient you also are, so you can get away with things. So cricket being such a skill-based sport, a lot of the time the skill is more important than the fitness. So I'm not saying that our older guys weren't fit. They're all professionals, and you know, they've been playing cricket their whole lives. Even though a lot of them may have been on the wrong side of 30, they were experienced, they knew what had to be done, they were energy efficient, and they were highly skilled. So for the guys that are playing regularly, our most important thing is to stop them doing too much, okay? So if they're playing regularly, they're playing every 2 or 3 days, they are getting their fitness loads, all right? What's important then is to recover between those games. So the last thing we're going to do is make them do fitness runs or fitness sessions. So a lot of them may have rehab exercises they need to continue with to maintain their knee or their shoulder or their hamstring. But other than that, it's all about recovery and making sure you're at your maximum energy levels for the next match. In season, if you're playing regularly, they don't need to do much fitness work. The guys outside the 11, then yes, depending on how much they're playing or how much they're not playing, then those guys we work on. You know, there's a lot of physiotherapists out there, and there's a lot of different physiotherapy jobs. I feel very lucky that, you know, I can make my living from being an IPL physio at CSK. One, because, you know, we're well looked after. Two, once I do my IPL, I can then pick and choose what else I want to do. You know, I'm not desperate to do a lot more work. But three, look, we're very well supported. You know, if I say something, the management normally supports me, the coaches normally support me. I'm in a very lucky position. Also, if I worked in a clinic, someone's coming every half hour, okay, and I'm rushing through them. Here, I decide my hours. I might decide to see one person for 45 minutes, I can see the next person for 15 minutes. I set my own times, I set my own rules. I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of flexibility, a lot of support. It's a fun job. I'm well looked after. No, I'm very lucky.
I suppose it's the same thing. It's just nice to know that you've been able to do something with a unique bunch of people, a very tight group. We get on really well, and obviously we understand each other and how we operate. So that's always been good. But it's just nice to be able to keep spending that time together and being on that journey together. Looking at fast bowlers and pretty much looking at the strength qualities in fast bowling. So we're trying to see if there's a relationship between the type of strength that fast bowlers have and their ability to bowl fast. Hopefully with the idea that if we can identify some specific qualities, then we can actually train those qualities and assist the players in becoming a little bit faster. It's obviously not the only aspect to bowling quick, but we're hoping that from a training perspective, we start identifying those key elements that make most of a difference when we're looking at speed. Look, I think when I first came here, the guys were very receptive to training. It wasn't that they didn't want to train, they were receptive to training. It's just that they hadn't been exposed to the training ideas, so things were very new and foreign to them. So it took a while for some of the guys to get their heads around it and to understand the difference it was going to make in their cricket. Nowadays, I think all the players really understand that. So it's second nature for them, and they've also been exposed to it from quite a young age. Because the state programs put a lot of the training programs in place at an early stage. So whereas when I first arrived in IPL or even in India, and the first time I was working with a player, I would have to start showing him the basics from the beginning. Whereas now, those players already have the basics and I can already jump a few steps ahead. So I think that's the big difference, is that I'm getting players now that already have the fundamentals and the basics in place. And so it's good from that point of view in terms of being able to train players. But like I said, in the old days, it's not that the guys didn't want to train, it was just that they hadn't had that exposure yet. I prefer not to talk too much about the fitness, but one of the big things I've noticed I've changed is obviously he's had to become a lot more serious. So in the early days, he was able to joke around and spend a lot more time being, just enjoying himself. Whereas I think over the years he's had to become a little bit more serious as his role has changed as a captain and a more senior player in the team. So in the early days, he used to, we used to fool around a lot, and he used to make fun of me a lot then. Now he's sort of, I suppose you have to say, matured a little bit and doesn't tease me as much. It goes back to what I said earlier, is that your dosage of what you do with the players is very important. And you need to keep in mind what they're doing on the field, because that's the most important aspect of what we do. And using the loading that they have on the field as a big part of their training, and not putting too much additional work in there, particularly if they're playing all the games. With the senior guys as well, a lot of them, it's their experiences which is most important, not necessarily their speed between the wickets and those aspects which a younger player might bring, their agility in the field. It's their ability to read the situation of the game and to make the correct decisions at the correct time. And those things are very valuable. So to have a player available and playing is more important than losing them because they've done too much fitness training and pull a muscle because they're actually fatigued and overloaded.